Hey y'all, this is Chrissy O here from Chrissy O's Clucky Chronicles YouTube channel and ChrissyOShow.com. So we're still talking about the North Carolina State Fair this week, and I hope you guys enjoyed the very first episode because I'm going to be doing a few more. I mean, it's just appropriate, right? So here we go. Let's dive right on in, and while you're here, just go ahead and smash that little like button and subscribe and join us and have just a wonderful flocktastic time, because here it is, October. It's NC State Fair weather, y'all, and here in Eastern North Carolina, we just got to get some more information out there for y'all. So here we go. Let's roll it. I'm ready to be whirled around the Midway on some ride that somebody took out of a briefcase and throwed hay over the cord. Now let me tell y'all, if the fair's front porch was all plows and prize hogs, the Midway was the back alley hoedown where the real whispers started. I want you to picture it. 1893. Not here in Raleigh, but up in Chicago at the Columbian Exposition, the granddaddy of them all, honey. That's where the Hoochie Coochie shimmied into American hearts. Born from a street in Cairo exhibit featuring, of all things, honey, belly dancers swaying to exotic tunes under these striped tents. Now, folks back then called it Scandalous, shaking hips and jangling coins that make a Baptist deacon fan himself. But it spread like kudzu, hitching rides on carnival wagons to fairs just nationwide, honey. Now, by the turn of the century, our NC State Fair, well, they got the fever too. That 16-acre patch east of the Capitol, already buzzing with horse races since 1853, it sprouted a Midway ribbon of wonders, honey. It had human oddities billed as freaks, though we'd call them folks with stories now, okay? There was two-headed calves in jars, and yes, those coochie tents, honey, where ladies in fringe and feathers kind of promised to peek at the forbidden. Now, admission was still a quarter, same as seeing a steam thresher, but for an extra nickel or dime, you just slip past the canvas flap into a world of gasping and giggles. Historians like Melton McLaurin reckon by 1900, with 50,000 souls flooding the gates, the Midway was pulling more eyes than the butter sculptures. Now, my granddaddy from Johnston County sneaked off from the mule judging, pocket full of fair script, heart pounding like a calliope, on the fritz. And the Barkers, smooth talking showmen just to holler and step right up, see the tattooed lady or the Fiji mermaid. Half type, it was just all kind of half whatever. It was just hype. All heart, pumpkin, escape, from the cotton fields. It was what it was for back then. It was America's strange part of living the dream back then. And not just for the elite and starched collars, but for every farmhand who was dreaming of something wilder than a fox in the hen house. Now, my Nanaroo gets it. Sneaking a feather from the coop like it's contraband silk. Y'all, have you ever felt that Midway pull? If you have, honey, drop it in the comments. Was it the lights, the lure, the food? What was it that draws you to the fair? It don't even have to be our state fair here in North Carolina. It can be your own fair. Just let me know. Now let's mosey into the hearts of the whole hullabaloo. So, the sideshows proper. Now, those tinted theaters of the peculiar made the Midway throb like a fiddle string. From the 1880s onward, when electricity lit the paths like fireflies on steroids, the term freaks became, state fair royalty. Now we're talking the Alligator Man, skin like croc hide from some river curse, or the ossified man, stiff as a board from head to toe, lying serene while crowds poked it with canes. It's rude, y'all, but times were tougher way back then and a little bit different. So by the 1920s, when the fair hunkered down on its 200-acre spread off Blue Ridge Road, these acts were headliners, okay? Giants towering 8 feet, pygmies scampering like elves, and sword swallowers gulping steel like it was sorghum. James E. Straight's shows, they rolled in from 1948 hauling wagons of wonders. Fake two-headed babies in jars, admit it. Half the thrill was the fib, okay? Fire eaters, breathing flames hotter than a July revival. Honey, they seem to have it all. Paul Blankenship, our fair historian extraordinaire, he recalls the 1970s sideshows as the last gasp. A man with scales who'd autograph programs for a quarter, or contortionists twisting like my flexible Miss Priss dodging the rain. It wasn't mockery then, it was marvel. Folks from Selma to Smithfield seeing lives beyond the plow whispering, Lord have mercy, with a grin. You know what I mean? Ties right back to 1738 when the first American sideshow paraded a woman from West Africa as a savage. It's a dark chapter, sure, but by our fair's heyday, it evolved into celebrating difference like a quilt of quirks. Now, Granny wore her brother, just out at the fair, taking him on all the rides and everything that they had there. And, she swore her brother lost a tooth gawking at the rubber-skinned wonder 1952, right after Dorton Arena opened its sales, but who knows? And these shows, they weren't just spectacles. There were mirrors that just reflected our curiosities back at us under the harvest moon. So, you feeling that tingle yet? Is the fair saying, come as you are, leave wondering and wanting more with a full belly? Okay, y'all. If the freaks were the Midway's odd uncles, the Hoochie Coochie shows were the sassy aunts stealing every glance. And that name traces literally to French. Hoochie Coochie, okay? Shaking a tail like a bobtail bird. But by 1895's Great Southern Fair, it meant ladies in spangled skirts hip up into like belly dancing beats that make a possum blush. Now, it all debuted stateside at Chicago's 1893 World's Fair in that like Cairo alley where Little Egypt swayed for crowds of like 10,000 a day, coins clinking like their applause, And anyway, it hopped the rail star North Carolina Midway by the 1900s. So tinted temptations whispering girls, girls, girls to farm boys with firefly blood in their veins. By 1928's grand reopening at the new grounds after a 2-year hiatus for building barns and dreaming big, these girly reviews were Midway's mainstays. Part of the burlesque wave that kind of hit Raleigh sort of hard. So tents flapped with banners promising exotic dancers from the Orient. Hollywood hype. It was mostly local gals with grit, where like for a dime you'd catch like a 10-minute teaser show, shimmying hips, tossing ping pong balls in the crowd, and yes ma'am, family friendly flair, even way back then. Then you had drum beats keeping the fellas in line. Now Bob Lee, sharing yarns from the 60s county fairs like Durham's, kind of called it a rite of passage. College lads from Chapel Hill piling in Monday nights, before the sheriff caught wind and shut the show by Wednesday. That's funny. Now, at the state fair, same velvet rope. Post-World War II, straight shows kept the coochie caravans rolling through the 50s and 60s, drawing daddies who swore it was just culture. My own kin from Joko. Hushed tales of sneaking peeks, pocket lighters, but eyes wider, It was a lure wrapped in just mischief, okay? Just echoing how all the mischief that was going on, okay? Anyway, not sleaze per se, but just sparkle. Just a breath of freedom and corsets and curls, reminding even the Tar Heels they kind of craved a little bit of oriental sway in the straight-laced world. By the 1970s, though, the Midway's wild child started taming down. Now, TV bringing the world to your lap, that was new. Morals marching stricter than a drill sergeant, and families, they were demanding rides over reviews. Freak shows folded their banners by the 1980s because of ethical shifts and that type of thing, bless them. And the Hoochie Coochie tents, last seen hitching out of Raleigh right around 1965, and they were replaced by Wholesome Games and the Sky Gazer wheel kissing 150 feet high. Power's Great American Midways took the reins in 2004, turning like 100+ thrills into kiddo safe spin. So no more velvet secrets, just cotton candy clouds. But the legacy, well, hey, y'all, it's in our bones. That Midway magic taught us to embrace the odd, chase the shimmy of joy, and laugh at the forbidden. Kind of like my flock secret dust-ups is what keeps the ordinary extraordinary. Anyway, y'all, that's our shimmy down sideshow lane, and it's from freakish fascinations to the hoochie coochie charms that lit the night. So let me tell you, if this tickled your nostalgic funny bone like it did me, I've heard all sorts of tales from Papa when he was living, talking about the hoochie coochie shows and all kinds of strangeness going on way back then, the 40s and 50s. Anyway, just subscribe to Chrissy O's Clucky Chronicles for more fair, fresh secrets this week, and I'm gonna raid my Southern Farm Stories playlist, like those game people hollering at me to step on the scale to guess my weight. Anyway, just holler back in the comments, what's your favorite Midway memory? Do you have a favorite little freak peek or a forbidden dance that you remember from the state fair? Anyway, I'll try to weave in some more fun, fair frolic next week. And as always, y'all, if you can't be good, I don't know what else to tell you other than to be good at it. And I'll see you on the flip side of the tent.